G'day, Tragic here, and we're going to be doing Call of Cthulhu, the card game Secret Knowledge expansion. So let's get right into this, because this is going to be long, because this is a big box expansion. So, what have we got in here? We get another cool little short story, and then we get a whole bunch of deck cards. So we're going to go through these and see what we got. Now remember, this is one of the new breed of expansions that are coming out specifically for the older games, but also newer games are starting it too. It's like a new model they're using, and I think it's a tremendous win. See, basically, in the old days, you would have faction packs, and each faction pack, each booster pack would have, well, actually in the original, when Call of Cthulhu first came out and I first started collecting it, we actually had rares, uncommons and commons. And you'd have to buy 3 of each individual booster pack to get 3 of every card. And people complained so bitterly about it, they actually remodeled it in the system we've got now where you get 3 of every kind. But anyway, what happens is in games like this and Game of Thrones, especially those two, when the card pool is so large, because unlike Magic the Gathering, there isn't a system for cycling cards out of active play. Every single card that's been printed for the entire history of the game is a valid card unless it's been banned. And what that means is it's very hard for new players to get into this game because they sit down to make a deck and their card pool is, thousands of cards. By the time they read one faction, it's just a blur. They can't think of combos. It takes them days just to read the card. So what they've done is they started releasing these faction packs, and what it is, it's a booster box that focuses mainly on a single faction. So the idea is you can get core to start, and you can buy this, and you've suddenly got a large card pool of a single faction. And I think this is a really, really good idea. And in fact, it's an idea that I spouted on the boards years ago before this faction came out. Don't believe me? I could show you the thread. But yeah, I suggested this exact model, and then it came out. So you can thank me. It wasn't really mine. You don't need to thank me, but it just so happens that it was the same thing I asked for. And this is the second time that's happened in Call of Cthulhu. First time was when we wanted to get rid of commons and uncommons, which is what they did, and now faction boxes, so pretty excited. Anyway, so let's have a look at these cards. Now I'll probably do a video on it, but FFG has an extremely good video on how to use, how to play this game if you want to look up their YouTube channel. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to go through these cards, and it's going to be quite a long video, so let's get started. Okay, we're starting off with Board of Trustees. Now, again, this is the Misomatonic pack, so almost everything is going to be Misomatonic. Okay, so he's an independent, that's his subtype, right? And he's got willpower and invulnerability, both extremely good, especially for Misomatonic, because Misomatonic is a human faction, which means they have a lot of problems with insanity. So this guy can't go insane, and he's invulnerable, which means he can't die from taking damage. Very, very powerful card. Now, while he's ready, any student characters gain willpower. Okay, so this is a huge card for this fact, really, really, really full on. And while he's exhausted, he gets toughness +1. And also, while he's exhausted, he gets a toughness +1. Now, exhaustion in this game is what they call tapping, okay? And you have to tap to commit. So what actually happens is, when he commits, all faculty members gain toughness as he commits. Very, very powerful. Basically, so, think of all the stuff this guy does. This is why he only costs 4. Not only has he got 2 arcane archons, so he's easy to ready, he's got 2 investigations, which means, he's very, very good at winning stories. This guy can win he can win 3 chits at a exposed, undefended story. But, seriously, willpower and invulnerability to student characters. Invulnerability of himself. But seriously, willpower is gained to all student characters. That is huge. And then for faculty characters gain toughness +1. Impressive. Impressive card. Definitely worth playing. 5 skill. Wow. He's a beast, really. Okay, so here we have Wit on Grace. Now, you can notice that she has faculty keywords, so she gets that toughness +1 we were talking about, and she's already got toughness +1. Now, it's also worth noting, if we just go back to this guy, that when he untaps, they lose that toughness. So if they do take damage, you know, if the faculty members take a 1 point of damage, when this guy untaps, they lose that toughness, which means they'll die when he untaps. But the point is they'll survive for the story. Anyway, so Witten Green, bit of a babe. Now, she's a faculty member, and she's an investigator, and she's a relic hunter. So she fits into a lot of decks. She's got all the many keywords on her, and she's got +1 toughness. You can't go wrong with +1 toughness. And she's a 3-cost, 3 icon. Pretty awesome. You get this bird out in turn 2. You know, you've got a good chance of winning many icon stories. Now, what is interesting is that she has see this icon here? This means that when she commits, she adds another story struggle to the individual stories. So here is a typical story card, right? So when you attack the story, you follow the icon struggles down this list. And cards that have these things add another struggle, which means that if she was committed to this story, there would be 2 investigation struggles, not 1, okay? And because she has 2 investigation icons, she has a high chance of winning those struggles, which means that even if she fails everywhere else, she'll still get 2 investigation points on this story, because if she wins that struggle on the card and the struggle on her card. Now, these are very underused effects, right? I think, especially in conspiracy decks, you know, with the Red Glove Man, and there's a couple of conspiracy cards that have multiple icons of individual icons, like, you know, there's an agency one that's got like three skulls on it, I think. But anyway, let's have a look at actually, she's got an ability as well. It's a response. Now, a response is kind of like, it's sort of like a reaction, I guess, in Star Wars, or it's like an instant. You play it instantly whenever the trigger happens on the board, but it occurs after the trigger resolves, okay? There's another type of keyword called disrupt, which actually occurs before the trigger resolves. So this is after the trigger resolve. After you succeed at a story at which Witten Grace is committed, search your deck for a tome support card and add it to your hand, and then shuffle the deck. So yeah, that's right. You didn't mishear. She is also a tutor. Awesome. So she's a 3-cost, 3 icon, 3 skill, 1 toughness, extra investigation icon, and a tutor. Crazy. And I guess her drawback, if you call it that, is that she is... Okay, so Richard Pike. Another pretty neat card. Now, here's a student card, and what is really good about students is that they now are very easy to buff into having willpower through the board of trustees. Now, this is, I mean, this card isn't as exciting as the others, obviously. Now, it is also unique, so obviously it's not a pussy. Let's just have a look what it's got. It's a 2/2/2, right? And sorry if I'm going too quick. 2/2/2 means 2 costs, 2 icons, 2 skill. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, because I've got to go slow, I really should do a video on Call of Cthulhu and how to play it. But because it's got 2 arcane icons, if you win the arcane struggle at the story, like if you win the arcane struggle, it works like this. Willpower. This is willpower. This is insanity. If you lose this, you go insane. If you lose the combat struggle, you get a damage. If you win the arcane one, you are able to untap one of your committed characters. And if you win the icon, the investigation struggle, you get an advancement token. So he has a good chance of untapping. Not so much if you're playing versus Yogg, but because they've got lots of arcane icons. But he has a good chance of untapping. But check out his force response. Now, this is different from a response. So she has a response, but it's not forced. That means that she doesn't have to do it. Force response, as you can imagine, is forced. You don't have a choice. You have to run. After Richard Pike is made insane, all other Mr. Metonic characters gain willpower and toughness +1 until the end of the phase. Bonkers. Okay, I'm just going to say it. That's bonkers. That is such a good ability. Now, there's quite a bit of synergy, in my opinion, between Hastur and Mr. Metonic, and this is a perfect example of that. Send this guy nuts. Everybody gets toughness and willpower. Very, very good. And of course it combos with the faculty lounge, or whatever it's called, with the And of course it combos with the Board of Directors, which also gives a willpower and toughness +1. So this is a very good card, in my opinion. So, and remember, Miss Metonic has cards like, okay, so let's try and speed this up. Right, so here we have our first sort of out of sync one, I guess. So this is a 3/2/2. Now, for starters, this guy is loyal. And he's unique again, but he's loyal. Now, what loyal means is that if in a domain, which is how you pay for your mana, you need to have 3 cards in the domain, right? Okay, so this is what a domain might look like in Call of Cthulhu, right? Now this domain is running a Cthulhu card, and it's running a Okay, so this is what a domain looks like. Oh, bummer. Okay, so this is what a domain looks like in Call of Cthulhu, right? And you tap the domain by just, okay, that's been paid. Now, this is a domain worth 3 points, okay? So this can pay for cards that cost 3. Now, the faction matching in this game works as this. In this one, we have 1 Cthulhu and 2 Syndicate. So I can pay for any 3-cost card that's Cthulhu or Syndicate, okay? Because you only need 1 matching faction icon per domain, unless there's a few exceptions. And one of them is loyal. So this card is loyal, right? And what that means is that you need, if this was a Syndicate loyal 3 card, I couldn't pay this domain because you need to have 3 faction icons. So every card used to pay for the faction card needs a faction icon. So in this case, I now have a 4 domain, and that can pay for a 3 faction loyal Syndicate character. Now there's other things like Steadfast, and we'll get to that if we see the cards, which we will. But that's basically what loyal means. Loyal is a lot harder to cast because you need to have you can only, out of your domain, you can only count the cards that have matching faction icons. So this bad boy is 3 loyal, okay? And that means you have 3 Mismatonic cards in a single domain to cast. So it's a very hard guy to cast. So why? And that is because he's one of the new Explorer subtypes. Now, these are kind of like, I guess they're like soldiers in Magic the Gathering, okay, to use that as an example. They all buff each other, and everyone has a different buff. The Mygal in Call of Cthulhu are also like this, and so are the Serpents. But it's a pretty common theme in games. So basically this guy, he gives other Explorer characters willpower. Okay, and that's a pretty decent effect. Like I said, willpower for human factions is fairly huge, which is why it's being introduced, and I expect to see it really pumped up in later expansions. Some people complain, some people think that the willpower struggle is so watered down now because all you need is willpower or a terror icon and then you can't go insane anyway. So it's pretty easy to get around the terror struggle. But anyway, regardless of that game design question, let's have a look at what else he does besides buff other explorers. And it's only explorers, and there's only like 5 explorers in the entire set, like card pool at the moment. Disrupt. When an explorer character you control would leave play, draw 2 cards or put 1 card from your discard pile into your hand. Okay, so this is pretty huge, okay? This allows you to recycle your explorers, which of course is important because, as I just said, there's not many explorers yet. And the explorers stack their abilities, so there's quite a lot of power in the explorer subtype. So this guy has recursion, and recursion is pretty huge, and I like him. Some people aren't as enamored. He's only got 2 icons, and he doesn't come with willpower himself, or a terror icon. So he costs 3 and he's only got 2 icons. But it's worth noting that he is an explorer himself and he's also a faculty. Remember the good old Board of Trustees at the beginning of the video. But anyway, because he is an explorer, this effect buffs himself. So he actually is like he has a terror icon on it. But obviously he doesn't. You can't count the terror icon. I'm just saying that he himself has willpower. And he's got recursion. I like this card. A lot of people aren't as happy with him, but I think I mean, if you're going to make Explorer deck, you need. Okay, Brett Watterson. Now, this is another Explorer, and also a student, also loyal, and Explorer characters gain +1 toughness. And this is what I was saying. This is the theme of Explorers. They go off together in a group and explore, and they all bring different abilities to the expedition, okay? That's the theme behind it. So this guy brings +1 toughness and has a very nice ability. Resolve story struggles in any order of your choice for the story card in which an Explorer character you control is committed. So what this means is, as I said, in the story struggles, you go down in this order, and this is very important. Like, if you lose this struggle, people will go insane. If you lose this struggle, you could lose your characters, they could die. The ability to win the investigation icons immediately, or untap immediately, sometimes there are tap effects that come into play, are just huge. I mean, that is a really, really powerful effect, and it can really change up the way stories are resolved. Again, the Explorers are underdeveloped. There's only a few of them, and they're quite hard to cast. They're loyal, and they're all unique. So I have yet to see a really good Explorer deck, but they've got a lot of potential because they're quite powerful. Okay, so now we have another faculty member. This is Dr. Bancroft. He is pretty cool because he's got some decent amount. We've got, 2 combat icons, which is fairly rare for Mr. Metonic, and he's a faculty member. Now again, remember, faculty members gain +1 toughness from the Board of Trustees, and he's already got +3 toughness. He's a bit of a combat guy. Okay, so let's have a look at his ability. He has quite a large weight on him. But what I mean by weight is, when they design cards in these kind of games, they think of a cool card and they think of effect, and they play test it and they decide it's too powerful. So they put things on it which are called weights, which make the card not as good, but still allow the same effect to occur. And this particular card has a pretty heavy weight, and that is that it cannot have attachments of any sort. Okay, you can't buff this guy through attachments, which is a fairly huge thing. Not so much for Miss Metonic, but there are a lot of very, very, very good attachment cards in Miss Metonic. But I mean, if this was in, say, an agency deck, this kind of effect, it would be just ridiculously hardcore. But there's still enough excellent attachments in Miss Metonic that this does make a difference. It's quite a huge difference. But check out his response. After Dr. Bancroft is wounded, pay 1 to choose a character. Place X wound tokens on that character. X is equal to the number of wound tokens on Dr. Bancroft. Okay, so let's just think about what happens here. First, it's a response, okay? And what that means is that it occurs after the damage is placed, not disrupting, not before the damage. So the damage actually has to land on him. So if he gets killed, so if he's got 3 toughness, right? Which means he can take 3 wounds before he dies. So he has 3 toughness, and what that means is that he can take 1 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage, and then he can take a 4th damage, will kill him, right? But if the 4th damage that's going to kill him is placed, he'll die before his response resolves. So you really have to trigger this on turn 3. And because it is wound 3, and because his wounds it's a response, he doesn't have to do it, which means you can save up damage, right? So what we're talking about here is you pay 1, you've got to pay 1, and then you can transfer your damage to another character of your choice. Okay, so this is a pretty huge effect. It's a target damage effect for starters. Okay, so basically, if this guy's got 2 damage on it, you can just pay 1, choose any character on the board, obviously your enemies, and send the damage to him. Okay, now it doesn't clear the damage off the Dr. Bancroft. It's not moving the damage. It's just copying the damage to another card. So what is so good about this card? This card goes extremely well with quite a powerful restricted card, Khopesh. Now, the way Khopesh works is that you can damage your own character to send damage to someone else. So you can actually damage this guy 3 times, send 3 damage around the board. You can actually damage this guy 3 times, send 3 damage around the board, and then you can send that 3 damage to another character. Pretty hardcore. Pretty hardcore. Now remember that most characters can only take 1 damage, so saving up might not be needed. But Khopesh combo is maybe overkill, but it's a very powerful. It's sort of like a miniature Khopesh, right? And right. Okay, so let's have a look at this guy. He has 3 toughness, okay, which comes in quite important in a sec. Now the response is what makes this guy pretty special. Now there's a card called Khopesh, which is an attachment, and this is probably why he has the no attachments rule. And what that does is it allows you to damage your character to send damage to another character of your choice. And this is what this response does. After Dr. Bancroft is wounded, pay 1 to choose a character. Place X wound tokens on that character. X is equal to the number of wound tokens on Dr. Bancroft. So what this is saying is that you can pay 1 in your domain and send however many damages on you to someone else. This is pretty important. Now, obviously the combo with Khopesh was just too powerful, so they've broken that with its weight. But at the same time, it's basically the same as Khopesh, and Khopesh is restricted. And there's a reason why it's restricted. It's really powerful. Okay, Khopesh has a lot more going for it, obviously, but this is still a pretty damn good card. Now, what is interesting to note is that it is a response. So he's got 3 toughness, so he can take 3 wounds, and then his 4th wound will kill him. But it's a response, which means that the 4th wound has to land before he can trigger his effect. And the 4th wound would kill him, which means he can't trigger the effect. So it's important to remember to trigger this guy's ability before the 4th wound. Still, very, very powerful character. A little underrated. People kind of go, yeah, I prefer Khopesh, and obviously, but this is a character. He can block, he can attack, he can put damage on himself, he can untap. He's a pretty damn good guy. I like him a lot actually. Okay, so Matthew Alexander, another explorer, and we haven't gotten out of the uniques yet. These are all unique, everything we've looked at so far. Now he's a 3/3/2, pretty damn good. He's got investigation, arcane, and a combat. Nice. Again, he's got the explorer problems. He's loyal. But this guy, his buffing to the party is that everyone gets +1 skill. Now, +1 skill is skills are interesting effect in this game. It helps you immensely with your story struggle, but it doesn't really help in most cases, unless you're playing Syndicate or something. It doesn't really help you with changing board position. So while this is a good effect and it might help you get some more points, it's not going to help you gain control of the board. It's not going to help you control the game in any way. And that is a bit of a drawback. But check out his ability. After a character leaves play from a card effect you control, so look at his response. After a character enters or leaves play from a card effect you control, after a character enters or leaves play from a card effect and you control a Mr. Metonic card, put Matthew Alexander into play from your hand. So basically he's able to be played for free. Now this is quite an interesting effect. It's talking about leaving play, right? And being destroyed is leaving play. Like for example, this guy here, if he moves damage to another card, that is a card effect making something leave play, even though it's leaving play from damage. But more commonly it's going to be bounce effects through, maybe Silver Twilight or something. Now, these kind of effects are very easy to pull off, but they've got to have your deck around it. And quite frankly, I'm not really sure that there's much room for Matthew Alexander in the way the Explorer deck is shaping up at the moment. He does have his uses, like even though he's an Explorer, he works well especially in a Silver Twilight deck that has tons of bounce. Under the Porch will get this guy on the table. Shocking Transformation will get this card on the table. I mean, there's so many ways to make cards leave play through card effects. The only stipulation is that you've got to control it. And so he's almost like a play for free kind of character. It's pretty cool. Okay, now we have James Cookie Fredericks. Pretty awesome. Again, another Explorer. He's got the same kind of Explorer problems. This time he's a 3/2/2. So that's not very good. But all Explorer characters, beg your pardon, gain fast. Now what fast means is that there's actually a super fast, I guess you'd call it. But what fast really means is that when you have these icons struggle, if you tie, like say we tie on combat, okay, then no one wins the struggle. It's as if it's like nothing happens, okay? But if you have fast, you win ties. Now, fast is one of those things that doesn't sound so amazing, but when you start playing with characters that have fast, it really makes a huge difference. I mean, you just got to look at Descendant of Ereborn to just see how powerful fast can be. But so this is a pretty damn good card, and of course it has an Explorer response. After an Explorer character you control enters play, and any opponent has more cards in their hand than you, draw 3 cards, then choose and discard 2 cards from your hand. Okay, so this guy has some card cycling inside him as well, which is good. He does combo quite nicely with Matthew Alexander because this guy enters play. You know, he enters play through his effect, which can then trigger this effect. So there's some synergy going on here, but this guy doesn't really do it for me. There is not a lot of yard cards. From Days of Magic the Gathering, they've got the graveyard, that's what they call the discard pile. And I've just gotten used to calling the graveyard the yard. So a yard card is a card that plays cards from, it's like a recursion kind of card from the graveyard. So cards that interact with the graveyard are yard cards. We're about to see a whole faction pack for Yogg, which is basically based on yard cards. So this guy might get a lot more power, you know, like, because Yogg Mismatonic is actually a pretty good mix. But anyway, so he's not that good, I don't think, because there isn't a huge amount of recursion inside Mismatonic natively, okay? So, and you've got to remember, there's not really a lot of mono decks in this game. You know, the idea is pretty much to play 2 faction decks, but still, this guy's ability requires recursion, and recursion can be tricky to get right. Okay, so we have Lucas Telwo, and he's a 2/2/2, which is the kind of ratio that I like. I like to have it even, or, you know, more icons than it costs. Firstly, invulnerable. Okay, so that means he can't take damage. Like, he physically cannot take damage. You can't even damage him on purpose. Okay, things like Kopesh, for example, you can't use it because that requires you to place damage. So in the FAQ. But yeah, so, and this gives a real strength to the Mismatonic. The Mismatonic needs these invulnerable characters because, I mean, they're humans. They've got a lot of weaknesses. This is why people team them up with, you know, monster fact. But it's very easy for Mismatonic to just have their cards cleared, especially because, as I said before, they don't have a lot of recursion. I mean, they got more than they used to, but my point is that because he's invulnerable, that really makes him a lot better than he would be normally, okay? Or a boost, as they call it, weights and boosts. Anyway, so he's got a disrupt. Now disrupt, this is the first disrupt I think we've seen. Again, this interrupts effects, okay? So a game effect happens and this stops it from happening because this actually occurs before. Okay, when a player would play a non-location support card, discard one of your success tokens from the story to instead put that card into play under your control as if you have just played it from your hand. Pretty amazing. This is a pretty amazing effect. There's a lot of very powerful support cards that you have to look out for, and this guy just shuts them down. He shuts down support card decks. You know, just, you know, Devil's Reef. Get that away, man. No way. No thank you for Devil's Reef. Obviously, it'd be more fun to play it on a support card you could use, like say Under the Porch, but still, pretty damn amazing card, I think. It's a 2/2/2, plus it's a protection from an entire class of deck. Can't go wrong with that. Okay, so Macquarie Diggs. That's a 2/2/1, and he has an awesome drawing. I just think this guy looks awesome. Anyway, so he is a student again and a sorcerer. It's important to remember all these keywords have effects, you know, for deck construction. Anyway, this is another disrupt. When you would lose a struggle, ready Maurice Diggs to choose one success token at any story on any player's side and move it to another story on the same side. So basically what this is saying is, if you lose a struggle, you can ready this guy. He readies for starters. And then you can change the distribution of one of the stories, okay? So basically you win this game by winning 5 struggles, okay? So if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 wins, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 wins, okay? The next time you win a struggle, you're going to win this story. And you only need 3 stories to win the game. So what this guy allows you to do is just say, well, actually, you need 2 to win. So I'm sorry, this is a disrupt as well. So the guy goes, aha, I've won, and he goes to place his last piece. well, who have won? You go, actually, no, you don't win that story, and I get another turn to have a go at it. Pretty decent card effect. It's fairly, situational, but it does allow you to slow down the other player, which is quite important because there's a lot of rush decks in this game. Now, what is interesting about this Disrupt is that Macquarie Diggs does not have to be committed to that story. He can be anywhere on the table. He can be committed to a different story. He could be not committed to any story. He just has to be on the table, which makes him a lot better. Still a pretty good card. Okay, so we're out of all the uniques and we're on to the normal cards. So let's have a look at this Etchologist. He's a 2/2/1 and he's got another Disrupt and he's an independent. Exhaust Etchologist and discard a Prophecy card from your hand to cancel a card effect just trick. Now Prophecy cards are, well, they're kind of like, they've all got different effects. They're quite an interesting card. They've only been around for a single expansion, and I believe there is only one for each faction at the moment. So this effect is almost useless for now. I mean, I expect we're going to see a lot more prophecies, but really, you have to have a prophecy in hand. You have to have a prophecy that you don't want to use, and then you've got to, I don't know. I just don't like this card. I think this card might get better as more prophecies come into the game, but for now I think that this card is fairly useless. Okay, so let's go on. Let's find something else cool. Catacombs Diocent. So he's a faculty lunatic. Now again, lunatic is faction is a subtype which goes very well with Hastur, and he's a 2/2/2, which is good ratio. And response: after a character you control is made insane, drive Catacombs Diocent insane and add 1 success token to a story with less than 4 success tokens on your side. Bonkersly good. This is really, really good. What this allows you to do is basically leech success tokens on stories. Because one of the things about this game is it's hard to defend all the stories at once, unless you've got a huge board position. Which means this guy allows you to make the other cards a lot more threatening. People have to defend all over the place, and you can get to the point where he just can't defend. So this is very good for rushing, and of course synergizes with Hastur. I like this card. I have not actually been able to get it to work very well though. I've been trying to get Insanity decks working for ages because I love the theme, but it's very hard to get Insanity work because you have to, or everyone has willpower nowadays, or terror. But what they're doing is, because of that, they're starting to focus, let's put him back while we're talking about it, they're starting to focus Insanity on your own cards rather than your opponent. The Hastur used to be about making your opponent go insane. That's quite hard to do. But what it isn't hard to do is to make your own cards go insane. So like this, there's lots of cards that have an effect, especially in the lunatics, that are bonuses to you when they go insane. Okay, and now we have another Arctic Ethnologist. Okay, so now we have an Arctic Ethnologist, and he's another 2/2/2. He's an Explorer Scientist, another Explorer card, and this is the first Explorer that is not unique. That's pretty heavy. Okay, so while you control only one Misomatonic card, cards, Arctic Ethnologist gains 1 Terror icon, and Explorer characters you control gain 1 Arcane icon. Okay, so this is not a good card in my... Sure, he's not unique, but what he is he's designed for mono Misomatonic decks. And quite frankly, I don't like mono decks, and so probably am never going to play this guy. I mean, there are situations where you could. For example, I've seen a pretty decent Explorer deck which teams with Yogg, and it's all spells. Everything is Misomatonic except for the Yogg spells, right? And it's got your Sothoth in it as well. But what that means is that you can run this guy, the Arctic Ethnologist, and because by control, it doesn't include your domain. You can have other faction cards in your domain, you just can't have them on the table. That means no support cards, that means no character cards. Still, he's very restrictive from only working in mono decks, and I don't like that. Next, we have the Cub Reporter. Okay, now as an independent investigator, and he comes with a 2/1/1, and just sitting with Cthulhu, just awesome theming into Cthulhu. I just love the fact reporters always have investigation icons, for example. Anyway, While the cub reporter is committed to a story, if he is chosen to go insane because of a terror struggle, he does not do so until all other struggles of that story are resolved. Okay, so is this a good effect? Well, it actually is a pretty good effect. It's sort of like a soft version of story order manipulation. And what I mean is, again, we saw one of these cards earlier in Brett Wufferson, okay? Now, because you resolve these in order, right? But instead of just choosing one to resolve first, you basically resolve this, but it doesn't actually, its effect doesn't kick in until last, okay? So you can lose this guy, and you can lose this struggle, and just say, okay, I nominate this guy to go insane, but he won't go insane until after the end of the story. So it's like a soft version of a story reordering card. This is a pretty good card. Basically, it's a protection from insanity. Not bad. I quite like this card, and it does have an investigation icon, and it's easy to cast. One skill's not very good. Interesting card. I can see this getting use, but again, this is one of those cards, it's not going to be a game changer. This isn't the kind of card that you're just going to put in your deck and people are going to go, wow, that's so awesome. But it is good. Okay, so, alternative historian. Nice. That's what I wish historians look like in real life. Okay, so she's a 1/2, no icons. What? Faculty investigator, forced response. After you play alternative historian, draw a card. She replaces herself, not bad. Action. Discard a card from your hand to choose an icon struggle at a story. That struggle does not resolve this phase. So this is a real story struggle manipulation card. This allows you to just completely ignore some struggles. Okay, and that is huge for this faction, because this faction, it's weak on willpower, it's weak on combat, so it's very, very handy just to go, well, I'm just going to ignore that struggle. This is a very good card. I like it. Works very well in decks. Next, we have Ghost Hunter. Oh. This is a 2/2/2 and another lunatic, so again, works well with Hastur. Response. After a character you control is destroyed, drive Ghost Hunter insane. Again, this is self-insanity effects. It becomes to add a success token to a story with less than 4 success tokens on your side. So this is very, very similar to the DSM, okay? Meaning that this guy, it basically has the exact same effect. And look at his icons, 2/2/2, almost the exact same card. So why do they do this, you say? Well, it has a different trigger effect, but it does combo. So basically, if a card is destroyed, which is very easy in Miskatonic, you get to place a success token at a story, right? Let's just pull out the other cards. Okay, so this one, right, triggers when people go insane, right? After a character you control is made insane, okay? This guy goes insane. So this guy fuels this card, and this guy is fueled from a character being destroyed. So if you have these two guys on the table, if he kills one of your characters, he's actually giving up 2 success tokens. And again, spread them around. Get success tokens on every story. And wow, that's huge. This is a very powerful sort of self-buffing effect. I quite like it. It's a nice little combo, I think. And one that is hard to get around, because destroying characters is what a lot of decks do. Okay, so now we've got the overworked graduate student. Yeah, we all know that. 1/2/0, no skill because he's a student. Again, theming, freaking awesome. He's got no skill because he's a lowly student. Okay, give me a sec. I just want to have a Coke. Getting a sore throat when I was talking. Okay, the cost of the first research card you play each turn is reduced to 2. Reduced by 2. The cost of the first research card you play each turn is reduced by 2 to a minimum of 1. Now, a research card is a support card. Do you have any research cards in here? Now, a research card are usually event cards, and they allow you to scry the deck. They allow you to, there's quite a lot of stuff they do. They're usually themed on investigation if they're for icon stuff. And this is a good card. I am not really up on research as a card mechanic, as in I have not made a deck that focuses on research at all. So I'm probably not the best to decide whether this is a good effect or not. Research is something I'm looking into. I'm researching on research. No, but seriously, the point is this guy, he's pretty weak. He can ready himself, which is good, and he does have an action effect, which I'll get to in a sec. But basically, he helps you with your research. I mean, the theming in this game is so good. He helps you with working out how to do things, so you can pay for your researchers easier. He untaps, which means not that impressive. You're probably not going to be sending this guy to do stories anyway, but he does have the 2 icons if you need it. But what he does have is if you exhaust him, you reduce the cost of your student and faculty character you play this turn by 1. Okay, so what he is, he's an acceleration card, and these are really, really important cards. Get out those guys more cheaper, you know. So a 4 cost card is 3 cost. 3 cost card is 1 cost, 2 cost. And of course he is not unique, so you can have multiple copies of this guy on the table. Now I love acceleration cards, especially for this fact, so I rate this guy as good. But his research ability, haven't really used it much. But his resourcing is good. Okay, Campus Security Guard. Now he has toughness 2 and he's a 3/1/3. 1 combat icon. What? Who cares? But he has 2, count them, 2 disrupt effects. Oh yeah. Disrupts are awesome. Let's check out what he's got. When a student or faculty character would be wounded because of a combat struggle, instead wound Campus Security Guard. And he has 2 toughness, which means he takes 3 wounds before he dies. And he also has a second disrupt. Discard Campus Security Guard from your hand to prevent a student or faculty character from going insane. And this is a pretty decent card. Basically, he protects people, and that's pretty damn good. You can eat up damage, and you can use him as a discard card to cancel insanities, which, you know, if you're going to lose a terror struggle. And I actually think that is the better effect, because you'll notice there's not a lot of terror struggle icons in this deck so far, as in none. So this is kind of what I would be using it for. What would be good is to have one of these in your hand if you need it, and one on the table if you can get that to happen. But I actually think his discard mechanism is actually better than his first disrupt. Still, +2 toughness. Can't be upset about that. Okay, so now we have College Prospect, and this is a 0 cost. Now, Call of Cthulhu has a huge gaping wound, in my opinion, in it. And that is 0 cost cards can be put in any deck. So like Snow Graves, for example, is a typical example, or I think it's called Black Dog, or there's a dog card, I can't remember the name of it exactly, it's a pretty powerful card. But there are cards that cost 0, and because they don't require payment, they're actually able to be played without any faction matching. Which means that most 0 cost cards in Call of Cthulhu, the older ones I should say, can be put in any deck regardless of faction. And that really creates some quite strange synergies, which you would never be able to normally get because you'd have to do faction. The designers realised this, so most of the new 0 cost cards have Steadfast, okay? Now what is Steadfast? Let's have a look at this card. See these 3 little icons at the top? That means to cast this card, you have to have among all your domains 3 mismatonic resources. Even though it costs nothing to cast, you still need 3 resources of mismatonic to cast it, okay? Which is quite powerful because this can even stop a turn 1 casting. Because often if you're playing a dual faction deck, you'll put 2 of one of the other. But it does have a pretty damn good forced response, and that is just draw 2 cards. So basically this is just an accelerator, okay? It replaces itself and you get a next card. You don't have to scry, you don't have to discard. It's a good card. I mean, drawing cards, you can never, if you've got room in your deck to place a card that draws more cards, then you want to have it, you know? Like, I mean, I wouldn't sacrifice a utility card for this, but the idea, if you can draw more cards, you're going to have a better deck flow, which means you're going to get your better cards out easier. It just makes everything smoother having card draw. So, you know, he's an interesting card, but of course, because he is just a card replacer, as in like he just draws a card, you don't want to sacrifice something good in inverted commas for this guy. I mean, he's not terrible, but you know, you want to have room in your deck for him. Okay, next, Sports Scholarship. Nice. We're onto attachments now. That was the last character. So this is a support attachment. Attached to student character. Attached character gains toughness +2. Action. Sacrifice attached character to choose and wound 1 character. Okay, so this is pretty cool. Gives students +2 toughness, you know, make them a little harder to get off the board, which is quite important because they're a human faction. But what I really like is the sacrifice ability. Because this game, a lot of this game is calculation of struggles, okay? There's a lot of thinking, a lot of heavy decision making. And, you know, unless the other guy's got tricks, you're fairly certain if someone is going to be destroyed, you know? Which means you can plan around it. Which means you can go, well, I'm going to die this time. I'll just sacrifice, instead of me dying, one of them will die. Pretty powerful effect. Basically allows you to control the board at the story stroke. Okay? Now, so yeah, so I don't know. I like this card. I think this is a good attachment. I know a lot of people who don't like it, especially sack effects are very controversial in games because what you're basically doing is deleting a card completely, you know, and in most cases that's not good. You want board presence, you want stuff on the table, but this removes stuff on the table. It's almost like some people feel that they're doing the job of the opposition for them, as in that you're destroying your own cards. But if it comes down to losing a story struggle or winning an objective, then man, it's not bad. I mean, this isn't great, but again, it's not bad. Okay, protected by the Elder Sign. Oh, the magic words. Oh. Okay, this is an attachment ritual. Okay, now rituals are usually cards that need to be fueled. Not this one though. Attached to a story card. Characters committed to this story lose or terror icon. I love this card. This card is the balls. Now, I've said it a few times and you can see the theming in this expansion has a lot of abilities to add willpower, to add all this stuff, because one of the weak things about human factions is that they're not terrifying. They go insane quite easily. This stops that. This just shuts that down, man. It does it in an interesting way. I mean, it doesn't. I think it's Devil's Reef. It's not like Devil's Reef. Is it Devil's Reef? There's a Cthulhu attachment that adds a terror icon to all deep ones. Okay, and that's a little bit more powerful than this. Both have the same net result, but they do it differently. But yeah, it's basically, and again, the theming in this game is beyond awesome. Let me just grab that. Actually, it's Shadowland Reef, okay? So Shadowland Reef, right? It's a location and gives all deep ones a terror icon. And again, the theming in this game is so awesome. It's like, it's a spooky reef, which makes them more spooky, which makes the whole deck more terrifying, sends people insane easier. This one, these guys have researched, they've gone to the library, they've dug out a freaking Elder Sign, man. They're not afraid, because they've got the Elder Signs. You know, the big spooky monster comes down and they go like, hey dude, I'm protected, bitch. I mean, the theming is just so awesome. And this is a great card. If you're having problems with insanity, like going up against people that have high, you know, like Shubby or something like the Shub Niggurath faction, that have a lot of terror icons, or, you know, Hastur, who has a lot of terror icons, then this card is a great one to experiment with. Stick it in your deck, try it out. It can completely change the dynamic of how your deck runs against monster fact. Love this card. Okay, Station Esmond. Okay, this is a interesting card. This is a unique location, and it's Polar. Okay, Polar is another subtype, obviously, and one that is fairly underused. But what is important is that it's an explorer and scientist characters you control are immune to triggered character abilities. This is also huge. This shuts down some pretty strong cards like Yul Knock or whatever. You know, the guy with the big hand and the big mouth in his hand, which is a humongously powerful card. What that card does, it allows you to, let me see if I've got him handy. I was playing Call of Cthulhu last night. I do have a Shubby deck here somewhere. No, he's not in my Shubby deck. Anyway, he's got the Yul Knock or something. I'll try and splice a card image of him into the video. But anyway, cards like him, Cthulhu for example, you know, can damage people by just looking at them basically. Well, actually no, when this is out, that doesn't happen. It only expects explorers and scientists, which is a bit of a weight, but still, I like it. Good card. All these cards are good. Every card is good. That's what the thing about Cthulhu. Almost every card is a good card. It's how you build your decks. Okay, so here we have our first tome, and it's another unique, okay? The Cylinders of the Cathedral. Response. After you win an investigation struggle, which Miss Metonic is very good at, this is a high chance of going off, pay 1 to search your deck for an event card or tome support card and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Yes, that is awesome. That is seriously awesome. Again, I'm a big fan of Yogg and Mismatonic, and Yogg is a spell. They have tons of spells. Goes very well with this card. Tomes are quite powerful. There's many effects that are based on if you have more tomes than the other person. This is a good card if you've got a tome deck. Okay, so now we have Mew. This is a lost civilization, and it has a response. After you lose an icon struggle, exhaust Mew to restore one character or remove one wound token from one character. This is a card that sounds a lot better than it actually is. For starters, okay, it's a response, which means if you don't have toughness on your characters, you won't be able to remove the wound. Okay? It's not a healing card. You can't just tap it. You know, if you don't receive damage and you go, okay, next turn he untaps, I can't tap it again and remove it, because you can only tap it as the damage is being placed, or after it's being placed on the character. So it's not as good as it sounds. What is quite good is the ability to restore character. What that means is if you are committed to the story, this guy's committed to the story, he has no arcane icons, so he doesn't red, which means in the opponent's turn he's going to be unable to defend. This card just allows you to untap him as if you won an arcane. That's pretty good. Not too impressed with that card, but again, it's not crap. Okay, Atlantis. Okay, this is another lost civilization, and look at the art on this card. Wow. Response. After player triggers the effects of a prophecy card, draw one card. Nice. Action. Exhaust Atlantis to choose a card in any player's discard pile and place it on the bottom of his deck. Now, why would you do that? It's already in the discard pile. Well, there's actually quite a lot of recursion effects, and there's going to be a lot of recursion effects in the next expansion. And this could come into play. At the moment, it's not seeing a lot of play in our group, but I think that there's a possibility that this is going to become a lot more powerful in the near future. Same deal with the prophecies. I'm fairly certain we're going to see more prophecies. Call of Cthulhu that's been going so long has a bit of a history of introducing cool mechanics and then forgetting about them. You know, are we ever going to see a prophecy again? Of course we are. But is it ever going to be big enough that you're going to build a deck around cards that trigger off them being in your hand or in your discard pile? We're not sure. Still, jury's out on this card. It has some decent effects, nothing exciting for me personally. Ultimate Fool! Okay, this is a bit of an interesting card. It looks a little bit like how they did the Undead City in Lord of the Rings. Anyway, but it's not, obviously. It's the Northern Lights in the Antarctic over some horrendously scary place. Anyway, so it's a polar lost civilization, and it's got an action. Exhaust Ultimate Fool to put an explorer character into play from your hand. If that character is still in play at the end of the phase, return it to your hand. Okay, so let's have a think about the explorers we saw. Who would this work with? I'll tell you who it would work with. Matthew Alexander. Okay? After the character enters or leaves play, you can place Matthew Alexander on the table. So if you have two of these in your hand, you can actually put both of these guys back on the table. Okay? Because you can exhaust this guy to bounce a card into your hand, okay? And then, okay, so what does this guy do? Why would we want to use this? Well, basically, this game is all about planning your struggles, okay? People spend, you know, there's actually a little bit of brain freeze in this, you know? Well, you know, analysis paralysis, as they call it, where the player just gets stuck trying to work out all the different icons and do all the counting and all the mathematics. So that's what I love about the game, but some people don't like it. But anyway, the point is you spend a lot of time working out exactly how you're going to plan to do things. This card is one of those cards that just screws that up. So with the Explorers, basically when this card is on the table, you have to expect that they're not going to play their Explorer characters. Now, there's a lot of different explorers, and they all have different effects. Some buff toughness, some buff willpower, blah, blah, blah. You know, we've already gone through them. And what this card allows you to do is place them on the table at action speed, which means that you can be coming along going, yeah, okay, I'll attack this story, I'm fine, and then boom, tap, out comes an explorer. Oh my god, everybody's got plus toughness. No one's going to get killed. He can defend. I don't get undefended, and I'm going to lose the story because he gets extra icons. You know, and remember, investigation icons gain you like if you win the investigation struggle, even on a defensive move, you still get a point. So this is a very good card in the Explorer deck. Again, I think Explorers are a little underdeveloped at the moment, but the way I see Explorers working the best is using this card. Having out the non-unique Explorers on the table and then bouncing in and out then bouncing in and out other Explorers. So let's just have a look at the Explorers. So say we have 2 Arctic ethnologists on the table, okay? And we commit them, they want to do something. They go, oh look, he's only got 2 arcane and he's got 2, investigation, 4 skill. Who cares? Okay? Now his effect might not be an effect because you have to unique faction. But then we've got this card, okay? We tap that mofo and boom, out comes Wit and Grace. Oh yeah, we now got 4 goddamn investigation, okay? She's got toughness, so she's not going to die, and she adds another story struggle. Nice, that's awesome. Oh wait, we're not done yet. We just put a card into play through one of our own play effects. Boom! Out comes Matthew Alexander. Now we have a combat and another arcane, and we've got more skill, and everyone gets +1 skill. Pretty awesome, pretty awesome. Then at the end of the ability, this baby goes back into our hand, which would clear any damage that she gets put on her, would get cleared, and this guy stays on the table. Boom. That's how Explorers should function in the way I see Explorers function. Pretty damn awesome, if you ask me. But as I said, I also haven't got an Explorer deck to work properly yet. But anyway, love this card. This is a key card in my opinion. This is like, well, when I deck build, I do things what I call key cards, where I find a card that has a nice effect that I like, and then I sort of start building up from there and use it as a base. And this is one of those cards that has a combo that is easy to go off, is quite powerful, changes the game up. Love this. Okay, next. Whoa, I might close that door. It's getting a bit noisy. Okay, so now we have Ipetak. Yes, the Bone City. Lost Civilization. Response. After a character you control was chosen as the only target of a trigger effect, exhaust Ipetak to copy the effect, choosing another character as the target of that effect. Wow. Okay. So I mean, anybody who plays Magic the Gathering will know the power of being able to copy card effects. Okay? There's entire decks of Magic the Gathering built around this concept. And this is a card that is only as powerful as the effects you're copying. Okay? Now, it can copy your opponent's effects. They damage you, or you damage them. But it can also, and betterly used in my opinion, I'm so good at speaking, but a better use of it in my opinion is copying your own effect, because then you have control and you know exactly what's going on. Then you can build that into your deck as a function of your deck. So you've got spell effects, you've got tap effects, you've got all these effects that you can then just copy across all the cards in your turn the light on. It's windy, so it's starting to get a bit of cloud cover. Okay, so yeah, this is a card. It's hard to show you what this card can do, because again, it's completely dependent on what effects that you are copying. But you can use it as defensive to copy bad effects back onto your opponent, and you can, in my opinion, a better way to use it is to copy positive effects multiple times. So you can, basically increase the value of a single card. I do like this card, and I think this is another card that I think people are really going to break. I'm not saying it's going to break the game. What I'm saying is that this is the kind of card that people will be able to work out great, really inventive ways of using it, because it's just designed to combo with other cards. So any card that is good that this card can copy, it's going to make it better. Okay, so Apocalyptic Visions. Whoa, it's another tome. Now, this one, action speed, pay 1 to search your deck for a prophecy event card and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. Meh, We've gone through this a few times. There's not many prophecies in the game. Prophecies are very good. Some are better than others, but in general, you know, tutoring's good, but are the prophecies worth tutoring for is the question. And the response is quite nice. After a player triggers a prophecy card, exhaust apocalyptic visions to choose and ready any number of characters with investigation icons. And of course, if you're playing Miss Metonic, almost everyone's got an investigation icon. So this is a good effect. This effect itself is actually better than its tutor most part. Like I said, the problem is you have to trigger a prophecy for it to get the response to work. But again, there isn't many prophecies. Prophecies are situational, you know, they're usually let's get this done as soon as possible kind of. I just feel that this card, it's not cooked, it's not ready. We need more prophecies. We need to see what other prophecies come out. We need to know whether prophecies are worth really building our deck around, because they're not at the moment. Prophecies are like, well, chuck this in, we'll get a nice effect, okay? It's not a bad card, especially the cards that replace themselves or stuff like that. There is actually some prophecies about to come up. I'll show you a prophecy soon. But yeah, I don't know. Not impressed with that one at all. Okay. Avaloris Halajon. Okay, the prophecy. This is a prophecy. Play during any player's draw phase. That's pretty good. Okay, action. Place this card face up on your deck. Okay, so the way let's just do the response first. Response. After a Mr. Metonic character you control is destroyed, discard Avaloris Halajon from the top of your deck to search your deck for 2 cards and add them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Pretty damn powerful, okay? Basically, this allows you to tutor, not for 1, but for 2 cards of your choice. Why is that so good? Well, if you don't know why that's good, seriously, you need to play more card games. No, that's a bit arrogant. It's awesome. It's freaking awesome. Because one of the cool things about card games is getting awesome combos off the deck. Going, yeah man, this card plays this, and now I do this, and now I do this. And yeah, that just feels so good, and your opponents, even when they lose by it, they're just like, props man, that was cute. And this card allows you to set them up, okay? Instead of having to, I've got to wait to draw this card, and then I've got to have this card in my hand, I have to have this on the table to do it. You know, you can have more complicated reactions. You can have a combo that requires more parts, because you can actually just go, bam! I've got 2 of the cards I need straight away, or I've got both the cards I need. I can now do the combo. You know what I mean? Very, very powerful. Very, very good. Double tutor. Rare and awesome. And okay, the way prophecies work is every draw step, you draw 2 cards, right? So you draw 1 of your cards and 1 of your own cards. Sorry. So you draw 2 cards, and then you have the choice of resourcing one of those cards and placing it into your domain to fuel your resources. Now, what this means is, with a prophecy, you place the prophecy on top of your draw deck, okay? And if the prophecy doesn't trigger, when you draw your 2 cards, you have to draw the prophecy again. So if you really, like, if you're not pretty much 100% sure you're going to trigger your prophecy, then seriously, it really is a bad move to play. Now, this prophecy, unlike a lot of them, requires the opponent to cooperate. The opponent has to kill one of your cards. Well, one of your cards has to die. Okay? Be destroyed. Not leave play, destroy. And your opponent's going to know, oh my god, this is a double tutor. So there's a couple of things this can do. He can just refuse to put the damage on, which means that you start drawing 1 card less. Okay? I mean, you can play it next turn if you want. Most prophecies it costs 0, by the way. This one costs 1 because it's just so good. So he might say, well, I'm not going to put damage on. Okay, you think. That's good. He's now a scared pussy, and I can just run in and start doing stuff, and he hasn't got the guts to, you know, stop me, because if he kills me, he knows I'm going to tutor for a combo. So it has that effect. It slows down their defense. It really changes the way they decide to play. The other effect it has is that you have to place the damage on yourself. Now that's the phone. Hold on for a sec. Hello? Yeah, I did. I just wanted to tell you that I picked up the tickets and everything from John, so I've got them at my place. Oh, what were you saying? Oh, okie dokie. Yeah. Okay, where are you now? Oh, Avalon, okay. I thought you might have been up at the mall saying going over for lunch, but that's alright. Okay. So Say hi to Lorna for me. Bye. Okay, so what was I saying? There are effects that allow you to place damage, and there's nothing to stop you from destroying your own character. And if you can do that, that's probably a better way to go, because it's a lot better to rely on yourself to put that damage on than it is to rely on the opposition. But like I said, if he doesn't, and he basically has to retard his defense by going, okay, well I can't put this damage on, he's going to tutor for a combo, or he just has to do it, you know, force him to do it. Either way, it's a little bit harder to pull off than some prophecies. Okay, now we have another research, or maybe this is the first research, I can't remember. Anyway, so this is an event, okay, which is we've had a few events already. Play during the story phase before the characters are committed to stories. Action, choose a story card. Story icon struggles do not resolve at that story this phase. Okay. So basically this can shut down icon place. Now notice that it's story struggles, so the skill struggle still occurs. So one icon can still be placed, but it works on all stories in the story phase. It's a very good card for slowing down your opponent. And there's a lot of rush decks. This is a very nice card. It just allows you to just not be worried if you've got a slow start, or if you have a problem with, you've got to set up your self-buffing cards to get over willpower or something like that. This card allows you to slow down, so you're not just going to start leaking leaking success tokens onto the board. I like this card quite a lot. Okay, Daring Bajou. Okay, this is another Steadfast 3, 0 cost. Remember I was telling you about that with the other card? It doesn't cost anything, you don't need to tap a domain, but they've just given it Steadfast so you can't splash it into other decks. Okay, exhaust a Misophonic character to choose a story struggle icon at a story. Replace that story struggle icon with a story struggle icon of your choice until the end of the phase. Crazy! This is bollocks, insane, awesome. Okay, now I've already talked about struggle modification when I was talking about Wit and Green. Okay, so Wit and Green adds a story struggle. What this one does, it just replaces one. So let's have a look at our story again. Oh my god, we're going to lose combat. Actually, combat is going to be an investigation. We'll get 2 icons if we win investigation. Or you could go, well, I want to untap 2 cards. Let's make it an arcane struggle. It still resolves in order, which is important. But yeah, this is a batshit insane, awesome card. Like, extremely good card. Very, 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 very good. Okay, and now we have another prophecy. This is the normal kind of prophecy that you see that costs 0. It does have Steadfast 1, but this is what most prophecies look like, and it's a pretty damn good one too. Paw 5, 120. Response. After you win an investigation struggle, which is what Miss Matonic's good at, discard Paw 5, 120 from the top of your deck to choose one character, ready or exhaust that character if able. If you choose to exhaust that character, it cannot be ready during the next refresh phase. Okay, so let's just slow down. This is quite a bit of a complicated text here. What the hell is it saying? All it is saying is that if this prophecy is fulfilled, then you get to double tap a card, okay? Or you can refresh one of your own, like you can untap one of your own cards. Probably not the best use of it. What is it good for? It's good for exhausting your opponent's defenders or attackers. And what it's really good for is the fact that they cannot refresh for 2 turns. So the next turn when they normally refresh, they don't. It's like sending them insane, except without clearing all their icons. It's pretty decent prophecy. Nothing too amazing though. Okay, so now we have 0 visibility. Play during the story phase before any characters are committed to stories. Choose a story and name an icon struggle. Only that icon struggle can resolve at that story this turn. Again, another struggle reordering effect. And I don't think I need to go on again because we've had 3 of these cards now. These are very, very good effects. They can really change things up. And, I'm not saying they must include, but they're kind of the whole point of this faction. So they're good. Okay, so protecting Narika and Nariku. Anyway, this card. Disrupt. When one of your Misophonic characters committed to a story would be destroyed, put a Misophonic character into play from your hand, committed to the same story. Then if that character is still at play at the end of the phase, return it to your hand. Okay, so we've seen, and I've gone on about how much I love bouncing effects in this game, like putting out a character, okay, that triggers another character come out, boom, I've suddenly got 2 or 3 characters on the table, yes! This does the same thing, this is the exact same thing, but this is almost better because this is surprised, okay? The attachment, the support card we had a look at before, Ultimate Thrall, does a similar thing, but this is on the table. They know that this is going to happen because it's out there and they can destroy it as well, by the way. This is an event card, which means it's hidden in your hand. And they go, well, I'm just going to kill this character off, he's dead, boom, I'm going to win this story, no worries. But oh wait, no, boom, out comes some ginormous hulking beast, you know, that you couldn't even afford to play. This is 1 cost, which means that you can play this on turn 1 and put out something massive, you know? And boom, not only does it come onto the table, okay, and it's important to say that it says into play, not played, okay? I won't go into that now, but there's a subtle difference between putting something into play and playing it. But anyway, whatever. The point is that it comes in already committed to the story, so it doesn't uncommit from the story. Very, very powerful card. Very, very good. Love that event. Okay, plan B. Disrupt. You know how much I love disrupt events. When a character you control would go insane or be wounded because of a story struggle, instead uncommit that character, then draw a card. This is a card that sounds a lot better than it is. I mean, it replaces itself, that's great. It protects your characters, that's great. But you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't help you win bloody stories. In fact, this card is basically an oh shit button, okay? You've made your plan, you've got your story, you're committed, you're ready to win it. They pull some kind of sneaky nastiness on you and you go, well, actually, I don't want to lose that card. Boom, and it replaces itself. So in that aspect, it's good. But the thing is, this is like planning for failure. That's what I don't like about this card. You're planning for your game plans to not work. And I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. I mean, self-protection is obviously very good. It's good in all games. But you really should be, in my opinion, you really should be building your deck to crush the opponent, not going, well, you know, what if he's crushing me? It's just I don't know. I don't like it. Anyway, let's get on. Let's go on. Let's try and speed this up. Whew, let's do it. What am I meant to do? Expert testimony, research. Okay, this adds an icon struggle. When an icon struggle will be resolved in the story, choose a mismatonic character and commit it to that story. Until the end of the phase, that character gains 1 investigation icon. Okay, so what does this mean? Again, this is that's why it's called. This is a way of modifying how the struggles resolve. Not by changing the struggles or changing or modifying the ordering or stuff like this. What this does is it means that a character not committed to the story, so the other player hasn't planned around it, boom, it's committed to the story. Plus it gets an extra icon, which is also a nice bonus. So basically this just allows you to trick your opponent into thinking that there's less characters committed to the story than he thought. Pretty decent. Okay, Fractal Ties. Discard X success tokens from one story to choose X cards from your discard pile and add them to your hand. Now, there's quite a few effects in this game that trigger by discarding success tokens, and I've never been a fan of them, except for Descendant of Erenbor, because he is just so out of control powerful, as in broken, as in banned from our playgroups. But what I'm saying here is that I find the whole point is to put success tokens on these story struggles. Taking them off, I mean, there has to be a really good reason to take it off. And quite frankly, recursion, while recursion is very, very powerful and very, very good, blah, 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 yes, 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 I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm just saying, if I want to pull 3 cards out of my graveyard, do I want to lose 3 success tokens? I don't think so. I mean, pulling 1 card out, yeah, you know, alright, I guess. I mean, there are situations where you use these effects. Often you get to the point where you go, well, that story's lost. I mean, I cannot win that story. I mean, I might be able to get a couple more tokens on it, but, you know, not really. And that's when you play this. When you've given up on getting a story, you go, well, I can use those tokens for something. And yeah, okay, in that situation, it's good. But again, it's kind of like planning for failure. This is a card that is good. Like, it's a good card, it has a good effect. I love recursion, I love yard cards. But at the same time, I wouldn't probably run this. Or I'd experiment with it, but the effect is good, but the cost is great, okay? One, you have to be losing to use it, really, because you don't want to pull success tokens of something you're about to win, because that just slows you down winning it. So you have to be losing before you can really use it. So you're planning for failure. If your deck is good at working, you shouldn't be losing in the first place. Okay, and that's it. Mr. Metonic is done. Whew. And as you can see, quite a lot of Mr. Metonic cards. Okay, so let's have a quick look at, we're up to neutrals now. And this should go a lot quicker for each section. The Claret Knight. I love this card. This has made it into quite a number of my decks, actually. So much so that it sucks that I've only got one copy because I only have one deck functioning at a time. But anyway, so it got three, it's got a 3 for 4 for 1. It has a terror, it has a skull, it has an arcane, and it's got an investigation. It costs 3, it's neutral, so it's easy as hell to cast. Only problem is it's got 1 skill. But still, a 3 for 4 for 1, I mean, that is, I mean, you can't get much better, you know, efficiency than that. And it's immune to triggered effects. Completely immune. This guy cannot be killed by triggered effects. He cannot be removed from stories. He cannot be, have his icon stolen. I mean, he just, what? I mean, yeah, I mean, he is good. He is a good card. He doesn't, obviously, it's triggered effects, which means it's like, card effects that come off cards and stuff like that. But so you can still get him with some events or whatever, but still. And look at his response. After attack this card is played, ready the Claret Knight. Now that is just icing on the cake. I mean, it's good. Are you going to use it all the time? Nah, probably not. It's not something you're going to plan around. What you're paying for with this card is the icons and the immune, and that is, I tell you, that is enough. Okay, and now we have a Clicky Zoni Ustopia, and she's a typical Call of Cthulhu chick, as in all scary and gothic-y. And it's a 3/3/3, which is completely fine. It's got arcane for untapping, which is important. It's got an investigation, that's pretty good. And it's got a skull. Okay, response. After she is exhausted to commit to a story, choose and drain 1 domain. Okay. Now remember, responses, this isn't forced, so if he's all drained out, you're not going to drain your own domain, which is pretty bad. But this is good. A lot of deck abilities cost 1 or 2 points, okay? So people, once the game starts to get pumping, people like to, use Eldritch Nexuses or whatever to give themselves an extra domain to trigger or whatever. But the point is that basically, this card allows you to stop whatever plans he had. Okay, goes, well, I've got a spare domain, and I've got a card, I've got an event in my hand that I'm going to cast. Oh wait, actually, sorry, your domain's been drained. You can't use that card. This is a good card. This is another card that disrupts your opponent's plans. I do like it. I like its icon. I like its art. But I just think, I don't know, I think neutral is incredibly underrated in this game. The neutral faction is actually, it's like 50 cards bigger than every other faction. Any other faction. It's like the largest faction in the game. And because it's neutral, it's all over the place. It doesn't have any theming like, say, Mr. Metonic had. I mean, it's got theming in the game, but like the whole neutral faction isn't themed together. But what is great about neutral is that if you, pretty much any deck that you make, you can look through the neutral cards and find a card that looks like it's been designed just for your deck. Just what card here you go, wow, this card really fits my deck. So it's always worth looking at a neutral. So many people forget about neutral when they're building their decks. And this is one of those cards. This card doesn't stand out. It's got nothing that really blows your mind. But then you start thinking, wow, I can shut down so many things by draining his domains. It can untap. If I have an events that can, recommit it to stories, there's a lot of little weird stuff you can do with this card to drain your opponent's domains, and I like that. I really like that. I think it's a good card. I don't actually use it, but I think it's a good card. Okay, Amarath. Okay, here is another 3/4/3, which is pretty bollocksy insane. Not as good because she doesn't have a terror icon, but it is, what's interesting about her is that she can commit to conspiracy cards while exhausted. Now the conspiracy deck uses, like the good conspiracy decks, uses a card which is neutral called the man with the red right hand or something. Or he's got like red gloves and he's actually he's in the art of a whole bunch of cards. So neutral is a very strong way of using conspiracy. She is another card to add to that arsenal. Okay? She can defend. She's got combat so she can defend, but she's also, even if she's tapped, she's able to commit to conspiracies, which means she can defend those conspiracies even after she's placing icons on them in your own turn. Pretty awesome. And she does have a response. After you succeed at a story where she is committed, search your deck for a conspiracy card and add it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So like the red gloved hand guy, she's also a conspiracy tutor. Okay? So she's a very, very good card, but she has to be used in a conspiracy deck, and that is what you find with a lot of neutral cards. They're all over the place, but they fit certain functions for certain decks, okay? So out of like the hundreds of cards in neutral, you might find 3 cards that are really good for conspiracy decks, or you might find 4 cards that are really, really good for protection decks, stuff like that. Okay, and now we have a new neutral ancient one. Oh yeah, an Artois. Okay, cost 5, that's bollocks expensive. 2 Terror, 2 Skull, and an Arcane. This is an ancient one, guys. This is a full-on monster. 5 skill, awesome. Invulnerability. Okay, all ancient ones pretty much have invulnerability, except for a few, and that just means that you can't take damage. Fast, that is pretty insanely good. Fast just basically, I think I've explained it before, it just means if there's a tie, you win. And that's a huge difference. Now, the thing is, the fast affects the entire struggle, okay? So, see, for example, this guy does not have, a investigation icon, but that doesn't matter because he's got fast, the entire struggle, everything is done, okay? So what happens is when we all commit to the story, you add up all those icons and it's if you've got 1 card. You go, okay, I have 5 of this icon, I've got 2 of this icon, 3 of this icon, and I've got fast, applies to every, so it's a very, very good card. Okay, he cannot be blanked. Okay, so basically the way you deal with ancient ones traditionally is to blank them or take over them. Take control of them or blank their text boxes and then destroy them. Can't do it with this guy. And at the beginning of a player's turn, that player must wound a character he controls or drain one of his domains. Again, you remove the opportunity for him to play cards. Now, there are decks that this effect hits you as well, but there are decks that this won't worry. This isn't going to worry Shub Niggurath, okay? You can just, pay 2 and put out his Dark One. This isn't going to worry Ouroboros or whatever his name is, that snake guy who can play things from his graveyard. In fact, could even fuel it. What I'm saying is that you have to take damage, which is bad, but because you're going to take damage, you can build a deck that doesn't worry about that so much, while their deck most likely is going to be really destroyed by it. Interesting old one. He's good. He has a lot of drawbacks. Self-damage is a drawback. If you're playing a deck that has a lot of yard play, it's a drawback because you're actually fueling your opponent's deck. But still, invulnerability, fast, cannot be text box blanked. That's a pretty good boost. Okay, and now we're into the agency cards. Okay, so this is the prophecy for agency. And so let's just read the response because everything else is just the same. The first 3 lines is just telling you how to use the prophecy, which is what I said. You put it on your draw deck, all that kind of stuff. Response. After a character is wounded because of a combat struggle, discard the prophecy from the top of your deck to draw 2 cards. Okay, so compare this to the tutoring for 2 cards. Okay, it's not even in the same league. Now does cost 0 and it has only got 1 steadfast. But what about the triggering effect? Well, agency is all about combat. Agency is hardcore combat. They've got characters that have like 4 combat, well, just tons. And, that's good stuff. So you'll likely get this to work out. The thing is, a lot of cards have invulnerability, especially if you're playing monster decks. They're going to start, later in the game, when they start busting out those big, massive cards, they're not going to be able to be damaged by, Skull Trials anyway. And the thing is, late game is when you want card draw. Late game is when you're going, God damn it, I need answers. What else have I got in my deck? So, yeah, as far as, drawing cards is always good, but this is not a prophecy to get excited. Okay, and here's a good example. 3 skull icons, 2 investigation icons, 4, 5, 5. Pretty good. Now, let's just check out the company. There's a government card. It's got heroic and it's got willpower, okay? And government characters gain toughness 1. This is a fairly decent card. 4 isn't too expensive, I don't think, for what it does. And it's a typical agency card, just like so much combat icons. But at the same time, as I was saying, you know, there's a lot of ways to make yourself immune. So you can shut down one of the core concepts of the agency, which is damage. Still, nothing wrong with this card. If you're making an agency deck that has a lot of government characters, I don't see why you wouldn't use it. It does have the toughness +1, which is a real bonus. Okay, so now we have the Cthulhu prophecy with its weird slimy rock thing. And it is, after a character is sacrificed, discard from the top of your deck to add the top 2 cards of your discard pile to 2 different domains. Okay, so there were some timing answers in the FAQ. Okay, and there's another card this comes out on. This triggers, you then have, this doesn't go into the graveyard until it's finished being, until the trigger resolved, okay? So this stays in your graveyard and you need 2 cards in your graveyard to pull out. So you can't do this in turn 1, is what I'm saying. Because if you don't have stuff in your graveyard, it's not going to fuel your domains by itself. Now, sacrificing characters is so easy for a Cthulhu deck that it's a no-brainer. This is a prophecy that you're going to be able to trigger. It gives you resource acceleration. I mean, if you're not being able to play cards from your graveyard, then there is really not a lot of reason not to play this prophecy in a modern Cthulhu deck, because it can trigger, it gives you mana acceleration. It's a good prophecy. It's one of the better prophecies, Mike. Okay, so Cthelia. Cthelia, you say? Who's Cthelia? Well, I guess Cthelia is, you know, Cthulhu's sister or something. She's an ancient one. She's 5/4/5, and she's invulnerable, and she's villainous like most ancient ones, and has a nice action. Sacrifice a character. Again, boom. So many sacrifices effects in Cthulhu with a printed cost equal to or greater than the character you sacrifice a character to have each opponent sacrifice a character with a printed cost equal to or greater. Sacrifice a character, have each opponent sacrifice a character with a printed cost equal to or greater than the character you sacrificed, limited once per phase. Okay, so what exactly are we talking about here? What we're talking about is basically a watered down Cthulhu. Cthulhu is, you know, pay 3 to put damage, I believe it was. No, pay 3 to force sacrifice. This one is a targeted sacrifice effect, but you have to sacrifice one of your own. And I've already told you what I think of sacrificing. I think it's, there has to be a really good reason to sacrifice. And what is good about sacrifice and good about forced sacrifices is that you can sacrifice characters that might be invulnerable to damage, which you cannot kill. This is a way to get cards off the deck that you have no other way of getting off. And for that reason, she, beg pardon, is a really, really good card. I have not used her in any decks yet myself though. There is a deck actually on Board Game Geek right now, not Board Game Geek, Card Game Database. There's actually a new Cthulhu article. It's just starting up, a regular article. Very, very good, written very well with really nice deck lists in it. And the very first one uses her, and I'm actually going to make up that deck pretty soon and give it a test. But so I'll have a better idea of how she functions. But at the moment, there's so many sack effects already. I just don't know whether I would run this girl. That's all. 5 costs, yeah. You know, I don't think she's that. Okay, so now we have Hamu. Now this is a good prophecy. Okay. Response. After a character is made insane, and like I said, Hastur is all about insanity. Hastur is just the insanity thing. But it used to be you make your opponents insane, but now you can make your own guys insane very easy because you're not fighting. But anyway, this is a card like the Cthulhu prophecy that is going to trigger. There's no question about it. This is going to trigger if you have, you know, planned ahead. Okay, so after it goes insane, after it goes insane, you choose 2 cards from your discard pile and place it in your hand, okay? Very, very powerful. And this card is the one that led to the FAQ ruling I was telling you about, because what you people used to do is that sacrifice this, it would go in your graveyard, then you'd pick up this, pick it up again, plus another card and put it in your hand, then you could cast Hamu again, okay? But no, you have to pick up the 2 cards from your graveyard, put them in your hand, and then Hamu goes into the graveyard. Either way, it's a proper, seamless recursion that costs nothing. Doesn't cost anything. 0 cost, okay? I mean, there's no real reason not to run this card unless you're really pressed for space in your deck, you know? Like if you can't fit it in, then don't force it in. But, you know, pretty much any Hastur deck that I have, I would throw this card in as a test and run it with this card just to see how it functions, because this is the kind of card that, I mean, it's just basically free 2 recursion. How can that go wrong? Okay, the old Sothoth. Now, here's another ancient one. He's 5/4/5. He has the normal invulnerability and villainous, and he has a forced response, okay? That means you can't choose. After a non-lunatic character is restored, it goes insane unless its controller pays 1. This is a very good effect, okay? And this is what I was talking about before. Sending people insane is getting a lot harder. Sending your opponent's people insane. You know, with willpower buffing and, you know, terror icon buffing and all this kind of stuff, it's getting harder and harder to send people insane. What this does is that if you use a scalpel, if you use your tricks to remove icons to allow them to go insane or blank their text boxes so they can go insane, all that kind of stuff, this keeps them insane. This is a way of making it more costly to not be insane, okay? And there's some pretty powerful cards. I mean, like, this guy and Things from the Ground is pretty full on. So yeah, this is a good addition to Hastur, and I'm actually working on a Hastur deck at the moment, and this card is a major player in that deck. It's not functional yet, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, now we have the Shub Niggurath prophecy. After 3 or more characters are committed to a story, discard the prophecy and choose 1 non-ancient 1 character to go insane, ignoring willpower or terror icons. Now, I think this is a really weird prophecy because, well, basically, there's quite a few terror icons in Shubby, but the fact is, I mean, you're not playing for insanity, you know? I mean, sure, this is good, it can do something funky, but I don't think this is going to take up a slot in my deck. You know, it's nice to send someone insane when they're completely unexpected. It only delays them, what, 1 turn, you know, because they come out of insanity, then the next turn they untap. So it's only a small delay, and, you know, there are many other cards that you could take into that slot that have a lot more utility. Committing 3 people to a story, though, is like, not even, you know, it's not even a question of whether Shubby can do that. Shubby's so good at swarm. You know, its Dark One swarms are just full on. So this is another prophecy. This prophecy is going to trigger. You are going to have this happen. You're going to send one of these guys insane. The question is that worth it? Is sending a character insane when you've not got a deck that's built around insanity really worth losing a card slot? I don't think so. Okay, now the big bad boy. Okay. God, I hope this has been shot off. Nug. This is the new ancient one that has everyone astir. So let's have a quick look at this. First, it destroys all day cards, okay? But it doesn't set it to night, which is interesting, but it does destroy all day. Force response. After Nug enters play, attach 1 card from the top of your deck to each of your domains as a resource. Okay? So that's pretty awesome. Now, when Nug was spoiled way back when, ages ago, it was actually every time it committed to a story, it would do the resourcing, but they severely nerfed it. But still, this is a huge effect, okay? Now, it is after Nug enters play, okay? Not when Nug is played. So basically, this card, you team this card up with, you know, people like Lord Jeffrey Farrington, or you team it up with Hun Initiate. I mean, boom. I mean, that's just like, you play it, you use it, you bounce it into your hand, you play it again, and your resource domains just like fill up. You know, you get a few Eldritch Nexuses or something, you can suddenly have, you know, 5 domains, all 3+, in like 2 turns, you know? Ridiculously powerful card, okay? This card is, I would say this card is going to be restricted. I mean, it's obviously, it's knee-jerk. Oh, you know, I'm calling that early. This is true. Maybe I'm just knee-jerk reaction, but This is an insanely powerful card, and one that I personally dislike because it completely changes the game. You know, the game, one of the things that makes this game so amazing is the resource system is so brutal. It's so free, like you can really play all your cards. You're never in a spot like in Magic where you're going, oh, I can't play my card. But at the same time, it's restricted. You can only play so many cards in a set of turns. You can't just put things down. You're not going to end up with like 500 lands like in Magic the Gathering. You're not going to end up with, you know, 1 billion resources like in Star Wars. You just go, oh, I'll just pay for an 8-cost card. No, in this thing, it's the resourcing is so well designed, and this card completely throws that entire awesomeness out the window. You can build, I mean, we haven't even discovered the kind of decks that you can build with this, because we're so used to having limited resourcing that this card with bounce effects, you need bounce effects like Silver Twilight, but this card just is just off the charts mana acceleration. Now there are some counters already being worked on, and a good counter is milling, because this card, like if you've got say a couple Eldritch Nexus out, that's for the mains, okay? Because you want to be running probably Eldritch Nexus or, you know, that neutral guy that creates one when he dies or whatever. But the point is, if you're bouncing this in and you're placing like, you know, 5 cards out or 4 cards out every time he bounces, I mean that's quite a lot of self-milling that you're doing, placing them onto the domain. Okay, so if you've got a mill deck, it makes your life easier. It's quicker to mill. Oh, and another thing this card does is that there's a whole heap of blink cards that blink from the domain, right? Now, if you what's good about that is that none fuels your domains, but your domain becomes like an open hand, kind of like a yard card that just plays from your yard. You know, you can just blink straight out of your domain any card, you know what I mean? And it gives you so many options. I mean, this, I want to say it's broken, but I really don't know. But it is powerful. There's no doubt that this is a powerful card, especially teamed up with bounce effects, which, I mean, you would. So I expect to see this restricted. Okay, talking about bounce effects, let's have a look at good old Silver Twilight. Probably one of the coolest factions. This is the new faction, a faction that was invented just by FFG, wasn't in the original CCG, and it has a lot of dynamic stuff in it. It's one of the harder factions to play because it has very advanced card interactions. It's all about bouncing and control, and you know, it's not so straightforward. It's not like anyway, I love this faction. This faction is the kind of faction that you can build a combo into, and it just feels awesome. Yeah, now I'm doing this, and oh, that lets me do this, and this lets me do this, and I can just, you know, it's an awesome faction. Very, very powerful. And as more cards are coming out and people are getting better at using it, it's just getting better and better and better. Okay, so start off with the prophecy for these guys, because this is the pack that prophecies were introduced in, so everybody gets a prophecy, but Mr. Metonic got 2, plus their second one was that off-the-chain double tutor. Boggles my mind. Okay, after a character is put into play through a card effect, discard the prophecy from the top of your deck to destroy a support card. Meh, whatever. Not too impressed. There's a couple of things wrong with this. Firstly, the ability, the trigger effect is a no-brainer. If you're playing Silver Twilight, you're going to be able to put something in and out of play through a card effect. I mean, you'll have Master of Myths at least. And so that's a no-brainer. But the problem is, this is basically a telegraphed card, right? So it's on the top of exposed on the top of your deck. They know it's coming, okay? So they know that their support card is in danger, okay? I mean, often they won't be able to do anything about it, but the point is that they know that what is happening. They know that you're going to bounce something. They know that you're going to play a card effect, and that's not good, you know? And if you've got this prophecy out before they've got their support card out, they're not going to play it. But if there are many events that can destroy support cards, that some of them are even able to be done as responses, which means as soon as they play them, you can just go, bam, sorry, it's gone. So you can wait for them to waste their mana, wait for them to drain their domain, place the card, destroy the card they never get to use. This card, they'll always get to use it at least once, because they have to play it in their turn, and they're not going to play it if it's revealed, then you have to reveal it, then you have to bounce. I don't know. I just think, I don't like this one. Okay, and now we have Carl Stanford. Now, he's a typical Lodge sorcerer, look at him. But he's a 3/3/3, and, you know, he's got good icon. But the cost of non-Lodge characters cannot be lowered. That's actually pretty huge, especially for Rush decks, especially for Dark One decks, especially for, I mean, there's a lot of decks that have a lot of focus on lowering costs, especially, you know, Sothoth or, you know, Cthulhu. You know, I mean, a lot of the big, heavy monster factions have a lot of cost lowering. But yeah, and the thing is, there's cost lowering inside Silver Twilight, and this doesn't affect it. So this is actually, that's a pretty good effect on its own. And then we have pay 1 to choose a spell or ritual card in your discard pile and add it to your hand, limit once per turn. Okay, so it's got a weight on it. They're like, well, you know, we don't want you to just recur your entire deck, but at the same time, I mean, it's recursion of spells and rituals. I mean, what more do you want? Basically, I think I think you'd have to have a really good reason not to have this guy in your deck. Something like you're over your unique character limit. Okay, because you don't want too many unique characters. One of the problems with those explorers. But yeah, he is a good card. Okay, Syndicate. Now I have literally never played Syndicate. I mean, well, no, that's a lie. I've played them, but I've never built a Syndicate deck, ever. I really should actually, but I've never built a Syndicate deck, so I'm not very good at it. But let's have a look at its response for this prophecy. After a character has its skill lowered, and again, these are simple prophecies, these zero-cost prophecies. There's really no reason for that ever not to trigger, because Syndicate's all about lowering skill. And what this does, it allows you to put into play from your hand any Syndicate character. And that's really good, okay? So what we're talking about here is basically zero cost to put this out. You can lower the skill like so easily. There's so many cards, you know, that you can just go, okay, I'll lower that skill by 2. I think the one that I like the most is something Diva. She's actually in one of my decks that I recently was playing with last night. Yeah, Clover Club and Tattoo Artist. I mean, that's just a deck I just happen to have sitting on my table, and I've already found 2 cards that lower skill really easily that cost nothing. Okay, so basically this is just commit to a story, doesn't even cost, and this one you just pay 1. Okay, so that's 3 to cast, 2 to cast, then in the second domain leaves you 1 spare domain still, and you can do this turn 1. Okay, the very first turn you can do this, and boom, out comes any Syndicate character. You can put out your biggest, baddest, toughest, most bullshit insane character on turn 1. It's a pretty good prophecy. But of course the problem is it doesn't have a tutor, so you've got to have it in your hand to put it on the table. God, I hope this has been in shot the whole time. Okay, and finally, this is the last guy. No, this is almost the end. There's only two more cards after this one. Peter Clover. Criminal 3/3/3, and action. Choose a character committed to a story and reveal the top card of your deck. If the cost of the revealed card is lower than the cost of the chosen characters, uncommit that character. Then even put the revealed card on the bottom of your deck or discard it. Okay, so this is the kind of card that I dislike immensely. Basically, it's random. It's luck dependent, which is why they've got the picture of the guy gambling. You need to choose a card, then reveal a card from your deck. And if it happens, to have a lower cost than the card that you've named, you can uncommit that card. Then you've got to discard or put it on the bottom of your deck. I mean, obviously this card will work best if it's got actual recursion, okay, you know, yard play. But yeah, I just do not like the randomness of this card. Huey to you. Okay, this is one of my favourite factions, Yogg, and it's not just because the cards are purple. Well, it could be, but you know, let's have a look at his ability. After you win Arcane Struggle, and there's tons of Arcane icons on Yogg card, discard the prophecy from the top of your deck to choose 1 character, give that character 2 wounds. Okay, so this is a good card. I mean, again, it's a zero cost prophecy. There's no chance that this isn't going to trigger at some point. It's a little harder to trigger than some of the other zero cost prophecies. And giving 2 wounds to someone is nothing to be sneezed at. It's a little overkill. Most characters only need 1 wound. But the point is, you can actually kill cards that have 1 toughness, okay? And a card that has 1 toughness would be Master of Myths, which is a splashing card that everybody's splashing in. Now, I made these decks from before Master of Myths was on the board, so these aren't, I can't show it to you easily. But Master of Myths is basically a splashable card that everyone's splashing as a defensive card. It sort of pops out of your hand, defends, it's got 1 toughness, and it pops back into your hand. This card will destroy, okay? Because if you win the icon struggle, that is. So yeah, it's a good prophecy. It's a little harder to trigger, but again, it's not a prophecy. A lot of the prophecies aren't that amazing. Okay, and now we have the new Yogg Ancient one, which is a 5/4/5, and as you can see, typical Yogg, it's got a billion arcane icons. Response. After Twilight readies, choose a player. That player draws 2 cards and looks at his hand. After Twilight readies, choose a player. That player draws 2 cards. Then look at his hand and choose and discard 2 cards from it. Limit once per turn. So this is a good card. This is a good ancient one. It's got 2 uses. You can basically you can peek at your opponent's hand, which is pretty powerful to start with. And then you can discard his 2 best cards, but of course he can draw 2 cards at the same time. Or you can use it on yourself, target yourself because you're a player, and it allows you to do a 2-card cycle, which is obviously very powerful, especially because Yogg is the king of recursion. Yogg has so many effects that play from the graveyard, and the new Yogg expansion is completely themed about yard play. So this card is going to fuel yard play, and it could possibly end up the major use of this card is for self-discarding as a way to discard cards yourself. And that's it. That is the Seekers of Knowledge expansion. So I know that was a very long video. If you sat through the whole thing, send me a tell so I can go, you are a legend. Now, bad news, everybody. I have bad news. Some of you may know from my last box opening that I got 2 copies of Call of Cthulhu Seekers of Knowledge by accident sent to me, and I was going to offer it as a prize to the channel. But I was at my play group and I bought my Cthulhu cards, and we were playing this after playing some Primordial Soup and stuff, and one of the guys was really taken with Cthulhu, and he actually already had a couple of copies of Core at home, and you know, he just never had anyone to play with. I'm like, dude, play with me, and I've got some other mates, we'll all play together. And he goes, yes. So I've given him this, so I'm not going to give it away on my channel. Sorry. But anyway, that is Seeker's Knowledge. And of course you get 3 of every card. I will see you next time.